Chapter 46 Chapter 9 In the Nigel Kingdom Castle, a middle-aged man with a short black hair sat on his throne. He wore an all-black robe with luxurious gold ornaments. That man was king of Nigel Kingdom, Jonathan Nigel. But King Jonathan suddenly stood up, and his body shivered as he looked in the district Nigel City was located. He disappeared from his throne and appeared on a balcony, then flew towards the direction of Dougal City. An hour later, King Jonathan arrived at Dougal City, where he had felt the horrors before. His face was slightly sweaty, and his breathing was rough. He flew at full speed to quickly reach his destination. After he arrived there, he was dumbfounded when he saw the scene before him. The place was previously a luxurious mansion, had turned into a bottomless pit in the shape of a palm. There were already many people all over the city of Dougal gathering to see it. What happened here? King Jonathan muttered quietly. From his voice, there was a little fear in it. King Jonathan flew around the whole city several times to find the person responsible for this accident, but he couldn't find him. The person who did it was long gone from this place. I have to hold a virtual meeting with other 4 kings to discuss this matter. King Jonathan sighed heavily and flew back towards his castle. After Zeal made a big fuss in Dougal City, he was calmly walking in the middle of the forest. Why is he there? Because Zeal had secretly installed a mana tracker on a magic king that had seen the Marcus Jacob's mansion and kept following him until he arrived at that place. Zeal was currently in the border forest between the Nigel Kingdom and the Alba mountain range. The mana tracer that Zeal had attached to the magic king stopped not far in front of him. There, Zeal could see the magic king entering a cave. At first glance, Zeal knew that the cave was unnatural and undoubtedly an artificial one. The cave entrance looked secure as if people can enter and exit freely, but in reality there was a reasonable strong barrier covering the cave entrance. When Zeal arrived in front of this cave, he immediately inspected the barrier just like he did at the Marcus Jacob's residence. This barrier is the same as the Marcus Jacob's residence, but this one seems to be stronger in the resistance attacks. Zeal tore the barrier slowly and entered the cave without any problems. After Zeal crossed the barrier, he felt something. I feel so many presents in this cave. Not only humans, but also several races mixed in there. The most powerful presence was a sage. Zeal narrowed his eyes in direction. The Magic King left when he started walking in and disappeared into the darkness of the cave. Inside the cave, the Magic King kept walking until he arrived in front of the gate, closed by a giant iron door. The door was not made of ordinary iron, but a magic metal, commonly called mithril. The gate was guarded by 2 strong-looking people, Master Caldian I'm Gilbert, asking permission to meet. The Magic King is named Gilbert. He spoke to the person behind the door in a polite and slightly frightened tone. It seemed that the people there were higher in the hierarchy than Gilbert. Come in, a deep voice I shouted in Gilbert's ears. The mithril door was covering. Gate suddenly opened by itself. Behind the gate was a very spacious room, like a hall in a royal palace, and a person sat on a black throne chair with the dignity of a king. That person was an old man with a long black hair and a beard. He had green eyes, and most of his body was shrouded in a strange black smoke. That person was Gilbert's superior and the head of the Dark Legacy organization, Caldian. Gilbert walked in front of the person, then kneeled on one knee and bowed his head in front of Caldian. Before Gilbert opened his mouth, Caldian spoke first. Marcus Jacob is dead. Caldian spoke to Gilbert, but it's like muttering to himself. What? Gilbert was shocked after hearing what Caldian said. He was killed right after you left the mansion. Caldian said calmly, like it didn't matter to him. How is that possible? Then the person who killed him is already watching me, but I don't feel the presence of anyone in his residence. Then Beatrix Selby can't do it? Gilbert gritted his teeth in anger that Marquis Jacob was killed not long after leaving his mansion. He felt ashamed and humiliated because of the accident. What's more, that person could break through the barrier he created and spy on him without Gilbert knowing the presence. I don't know for sure who he is, but that means the person killed is the person who has great self-concealment ability, or his strength is far above you. Caldian himself did not know how it could happen and who did it. End of crisis could be seen on his face. I apologize for my carelessness, sir. I immediately looked for that person. Gilbert was determined to find the person who to cover up his mistakes as soon as possible. No need. The most important thing right now was to find someone who could replace Marcus Jacob's position since he is dead. We'll have a hard time finding 500 people for a human experience tomorrow, Caldian said in a deep voice and looked very serious. I will soon find a solution about this, sir. Gilbert was confused about how he could get 500 people in one day. Suppose he kidnapped 500 people blindly. The Angel Kingdom will be on high alert, and their whereabouts will likely be discovered soon. You have to otherwise that person will be angry. Caldian looked at Gilbert sharply and said in a voice that contained a threat, Yes, master. Gilbert trembled in fear after hearing Caldian's words. Master Caldian, I'm Tristan asking permission to meet. A voice from inside the room interrupted their conversation. Come in, Caldian answered curtly. When the door opened, the person who entered was a tall and burly young man with red hair and black eyes. He carried a large sword behind him and was one of the strongest people in the Dark Legacy organization. His name was Tristan, and he had strength at the level of the Sword King. If Gilbert was Caldian's left hand, his right hand was Tristan. Yo, isn't this Gilbert? Looks like you're in trouble, haha. Tristan waved at him and laughed mockingly. It seems the relationship is not very good. Tristan, you don't have to interfere in my problems. You better take care of yours. Gilbert gritted his teeth and looked at Tristan with a piercing gaze. You're still as emotional as ever. Tristan looks happy to see Gilbert in trouble and keep taunting him. Gilbert was about to reply to Tristan's words, but was stopped by Gallian's angry voice. Enough. Tristan stopped mocking him. I want to hear your response. Gallian interrupted Gilbert, and Tristan before they could argue any further. Yes, master. Tristan started reporting his sword work. After listening to what Tristan said, Gallian fell silent and frowned. Looks like it's not going well on your side either. Gallian mumbled softly, but Tristan and Gilbert could hear his voice. Yes, because the people in the kingdom are very versatile, unlike in the Nagel kingdom. It is difficult to find collaborators for a plan. Tristan nodded in argument with Gallian's words. I see. You'll go back there and make sure to get a collaborator soon. Do not disappoint me. Although Gallian spoke dryly, his voice contained absolutely orders and hints of threats. Yes, sir. Tristan answered curtly. He lowered his head, and sweat dripped from his forehead because of fear. There you go. As Gallian was about to end their meeting, a quacking sound suddenly sounded in his ears. Crack, crack. Gallian narrowed his eyes towards the gate. He could see many cracks slowly forming in the mithril door. Boom! Not long after, mithril door shattered into pieces, and the shards scattered all over the room. Even a few flakes showed towards the three of them, but before the fragments of mithril door hit them, a barrier formed in front of Tristan and Gilbert. Who are you? Gallian stood up from his throne and asked with thick killing instinct. He couldn't see who had smashed the door because smoke and dust still shrouded the place. I just stopped by here to get rid of the pest. His voice sounded like a demon from the bottom of hell. Imagine